Welcome to my channel, Lobby 22. Hold on, because it's going to be something incredible. The glass shimmered under the chandelier's glow, a faint, unnatural sheen betraying the sangria inside. Diane, my mother-in-law, pressed it into my hand with a smile too tight to be genuine. A special blend for my favorite son-in-law, she said. Her voice syrupy but her eyes sharp, darting to the kitchen doorway. I nodded, my gut screaming danger, and swapped the glass with her husband's when she turned away. 45 minutes later, Gerald was doubled over, clutching his stomach, while Diane's face drained of color. She knew I knew. I'm Julian Carter, 34, a freelance photographer in Boulder, Colorado. My life is chasing sunsets for magazines, capturing weddings, and building a name that's mine alone. My work pays the bills, but to my in-laws, Diane and Gerald, it's a hobby, not a career. Gerald, a hedge fund titan, measures worth in portfolios and penthouses. Diane, a socialite with a smile sharper than her diamonds, never misses a chance to remind me I'm not what they envisioned for their daughter, Haley. Haley and I met 7 years ago at a Denver art gallery where my photos hung. She was a grad student, radiant and fierce about saving the planet. I was a dreamer with a camera, scraping by but hungry for more. Our connection was instant. Her love for wild places matched my need to freeze them in time. We married 3 years later, despite her parents' barely veiled disapproval. Gerald would grill me at Sunday dinners. How's the picture-taking going, Julian? Stable yet? Diane was worse, her compliments laced with pity. Your photos are lovely, dear. But when will you get a real job? Haley's hand would find mine under the table, her silent apology for their jabs. That night, Diane's 60th birthday dinner, I just returned from a grueling shoot in the Rockies, tracking elk through snow for outdoor life. Exhausted, I wanted to skip the event, but Haley insisted. It's just a few hours, she said. I ignored the unease coiling in my chest. The dinner was standard. Gerald boasting about his latest deal, Diane fussing over the table, Haley's brother, Ethan, and his fiancée, Lila, keeping the peace. Then Diane announced her special sangria for dessert. In the kitchen, I caught her. 2 glasses sat apart from the others. Her hands shook as she poured something from a tiny vial into one, her back to me. When she heard my footsteps, she spun, tucking the vial into her sleeve. Julian, I've got this, she chirped, too brightly. This one's for you, special recipe. The glass had a faint film like oil on water. My skin prickled. Back at the table, Gerald was distracted, scrolling his phone. I set the tampered glass in front of him. Sangria, sir? He barely looked up, took a sip, then another. I stuck to water, claiming a headache. 45 minutes later, he was pale, sweating, stumbling to the bathroom. The sounds of his retching filled the house. Diane's eyes locked on mine, wide with panic, then narrowed with something darker. She knew I'd switched the glasses. Haley rushed to check on her father, Diane trailing her, muttering about bad shrimp. I stayed calm, eating my dessert, but my mind raced. That wasn't a garnish in my drink. It was deliberate. I pocketed the untouched glass, its contents my only proof. Anger simmered, not hot and reckless, but cold and focused. I wasn't just going to let this slide. The next day, I took the glass to a friend, Marcus, a chemist at a Boulder lab. Personal matter, I said when he asked. 3 days later, he called. Julian, there's low razepam in here. Not lethal, but enough to knock you out for hours, maybe mess with your memory. Where'd you get this? I didn't answer, just asked for a report. That night, I told Haley I needed a break from Sunday dinners, citing a big project. She frowned but agreed. I didn't tell her about the lab results. Not yet. I needed more. Over the next week, I dug into Diane's life. Public records showed she'd been prescribed benzodiazepines by multiple doctors, stockpiling pills. Whispers from her country club hinted at odd behavior. Missing jewelry, strange outbursts. Her perfect facade was cracking. Then came the first twist. Lila, Ethan's fiancée, sent me a cryptic text, Check your mail. You need to see this. A USB drive arrived, no sender listed. The note inside read, "They've done this before." The footage was from Gerald and Diane's home security system, time-stamped the night of the dinner. There was Diane spiking my drink. Then, after we left, she and Gerald argued. "You drank from the wrong glass," she hissed. Gerald snapped back, "This isn't the first time you've pulled this, Diane." My heart stopped. "Not the first time." I called Lila. "Why send this?" Her voice was low. "They tried to break me and Ethan up. Said I wasn't good enough. It almost worked. I saw what they were doing to you and Haley. I couldn't stay quiet." She'd hacked their security system, risking everything. I needed a plan. Diane's goal wasn't to kill me, just to make me look unreliable, to miss a gallery opening I'd been prepping for months. She wanted Haley to doubt me. But the footage suggested something bigger. Gerald's words echoed, "Not the first time." Who else had they targeted? I met Gerald at his club, alone. He was all charm, offering bourbon. "A misunderstanding, Julian." Diane's anxious, mixes up her meds. I cut him off. "I have the footage, Gerald. And the lab report." His mask slipped, ice cold. "What do you want? Money?" "I want you to stop meddling in our marriage," I said. "Leave us alone." He laughed, leaning in. "Haley will always come back to us. Ask her about Nathan, her ex-fiancé. We handled him, too." My blood ran cold. Nathan? Haley had never mentioned an ex-fiancé. Driving home, I called Haley's old friend, Claire. Nathan was real, she confirmed. A doctor. Perfect for her. Her parents convinced her he was cheating, planted texts, emails. She ended it, devastated. They've always controlled her. The pieces clicked. This wasn't just about me. Diane and Gerald had been orchestrating Haley's life, cutting out anyone who didn't fit their mold. I had the evidence, lab reports, footage, Lila's testimony. But confronting Haley would break her heart. Her parents were her world, flaws and all. I waited for the right moment. It came when Diane asked me to shoot photos for her charity gala. I arrived at their mansion, camera in hand, an envelope tucked in my bag. Before we started, I handed it to her, the lab report, prescription records, and a still from the footage. "We need to talk," I said. Her face crumpled, then hardened. "You're not good enough for Haley," she spat. "You never will be." "Drugging me fixes that?" I asked, voice steady. "It wasn't supposed to hurt you," she snapped. "Just slow you down. Make Haley see you're not reliable." "Here's the deal," I said. "You tell Gerald what you did. You both start treating me like family. Or Haley sees all of this." She laughed, but it was hollow. "She'll never believe you." "Maybe not," I said. "But she'll believe the evidence. And the neighbors you've crossed. Are you willing to risk losing her?" I left without taking a single photo. That night, Diane called Haley, claiming I'd been hostile during our session. Haley confronted me, eyes searching. I couldn't lie anymore. I showed her the report, the footage. She shook her head, whispering my mother wouldn't, but doubt crept into her voice. The next day, she faced her parents alone. When she returned, her eyes were red. "They say it's a misunderstanding. That you're jealous, trying to tear us apart. What do you think?" I asked. She didn't answer, just turned away. I'd fought back, but somehow I was the villain now. Diane and Gerald had planted seeds of doubt in the one person I loved most. And I wasn't sure I could win her back. The silence in our Boulder home was deafening. Haley hadn't spoken to me in days, her eyes red from crying, her trust in me fraying. I'd shown her the lab report, the footage of Diane spiking my drink, but her parents' voices were louder in her head. "They say you're twisting things, Julian," she'd whispered before retreating to the guest room. I was losing her, and Diane and Gerald knew it. Their plan was working, not to poison me, but to poison her faith in me. I needed more than evidence. I needed to unravel their entire game. I threw myself into my work, editing photos in my studio until dawn, but my mind was on Haley. She'd started visiting her parents alone, coming back with new doubts, new stories about my jealousy. I knew I couldn't confront her again, not yet. I needed something undeniable, something that would shatter the illusion of her parents' perfection. That's when Lila, Ethan's fiancée, called. "There's more footage," she said, her voice low. "I didn't send it before, it's worse. Meet me tomorrow." We met at a quiet cafe on Pearl Street. Lila slid a USB drive across the table, her hands trembling. "This is from their security system, weeks before the dinner. It's not just about you." I took the drive home, my pulse racing, and plugged it into my laptop. The footage was grainy but clear. Diane and Gerald sat in their study, plotting. "Julian's too stubborn," Diane said, her voice sharp. "He's making Haley think she can live this bohemian life. We need her back home with us where she belongs." Gerald nodded. "Like with Nathan." A little push and she'll see he's not right for her. Diane smirked. The gallery opening's next month. If he misses it, Haley will start to see the cracks. My stomach churned. They plan to drug me to sabotage my biggest career moment, a solo exhibition at a Denver gallery, a make-or-break chance to cement my name. But the next clip was worse. Gerald leaned back, sipping whiskey. If this doesn't work, we escalate. There's always the trust fund. Cut her off and she'll come running back. Diane laughed. She's our daughter. She'll always choose us. The footage cut to another night, Diane on the phone, arranging for a private investigator to dig into Julian's past. Find something, she said. Anything to make him look unstable. I sat back, hands shaking. This wasn't just about a drink. They were orchestrating a campaign to dismantle my life, to control Haley's future. I called Lila. Why didn't you show me this sooner? Her voice cracked. I was scared. They almost destroyed me and Ethan. When I got pregnant, they stopped, but only because they wanted access to our son. They'll never stop controlling her, Julian. Not unless you expose them. I needed to know more about Nathan, the ex-fiancé Gerald had mentioned. I tracked him down through Claire, Haley's college friend. Nathan, now a pediatrician in Seattle, agreed to meet me over video call. His face was weary but kind. I loved Haley, he said. We were engaged for a year. Then her parents started whispering she'd get texts, fake messages from friends saying I was cheating. They sent her doctored photos of me with another woman. I tried to explain, but she was so loyal to them. By the end, she didn't trust me. He paused. They didn't just break us up, they erased me from her life. Nathan sent me a folder of old emails, proof of the lies Diane and Gerald had fed Haley. Screenshots of forged texts, emails from concerned friends that traced back to a burner account Diane had used. It was meticulous, calculated. They'd done this before and they were doing it again. I dug deeper, contacting Haley's old friends who'd drifted away. A pattern emerged. Anyone who encouraged her independence, friends, mentors, boyfriends, was systematically pushed out. Diane and Gerald didn't just disapprove of me, they saw me as a threat to their control over their daughter. I compiled everything: Lila's footage, Nathan's emails, the lab report, and records of Diane's overprescribed meds. But I knew showing Haley more evidence might push her further away. She was caught between her love for me and her loyalty to her parents. I needed a way to expose them without breaking her. Then Ethan called. Lila told me everything, he said, his voice tight. I didn't believe her at first, but I saw the footage. My parents, they're not who I thought they were. I want to help. Ethan's support was a game changer. He wasn't just Haley's brother, he was the golden child, the one Diane and Gerald trusted implicitly. If he confronted them, it would hit harder than anything I could do. We planned a family meeting, but not at their mansion. Ethan suggested a neutral space, a private room at a Boulder restaurant. They can't control the narrative there, he said. Lila agreed to come, bringing her own evidence, more footage showing Diane and Gerald discussing how to manage Ethan's life after Lila got pregnant. The night of the meeting, Haley was reluctant. I don't know if I can do this, Julian, she said, her eyes glassy. They're my parents. I took her hand. I know. But they've been lying to you about me, about Nathan, about everyone. You deserve the truth. She nodded, but her grip was weak, like she was holding on to me and letting go at the same time. At the restaurant, Diane and Gerald arrived polished and confident. Diane wore her signature pearls, Gerald his tailored suit. They smiled like this was just another family dinner. Ethan started, his voice steady. We're here to talk about what you've been doing to Julian. And to Haley. Diane's smile faltered. Ethan, darling, don't let Julian's paranoia drag you into this. It's not paranoia, I said, sliding a tablet across the table. I played the footage, Diane spiking my drink, their conversation about sabotaging my career, their plans to cut Haley's trust fund. Gerald's face hardened, but Diane laughed, a brittle sound. This is edited, obviously. Julian's desperate to turn you against us. Then explain this, Ethan said, pulling out printouts of Diane's multiple prescriptions and Nathan's emails. And this. Lila played another clip, this one from months ago, of Diane telling Gerald if Haley won't leave Julian, we'll make sure she has no choice. The trust fund's leverage. Haley's breath caught. She stared at her parents, waiting for them to deny it. Gerald cleared his throat. Haley, sweetheart, we only want what's best for you. Julian's unstable. His career's a gamble. We were protecting you. Protecting me? Haley's voice shook. You drugged my husband. You lied about Nathan. You've been controlling my life. Diane reached for her hand, but Haley pulled back. Don't. Just don't. For the first time, Diane's composure cracked. Haley, we're your family. You can't trust him over us. She doesn't have to choose, I said, my voice calm but firm. But you need to stop. No more lies, no more schemes. Or this evidence goes to your friends, your colleagues, your entire social circle. Gerald leaned forward, eyes cold. You're blackmailing us? No, I said. I'm setting boundaries. For Haley. For us. The room fell silent. Haley stood, tears streaming down her face. I need time, she said, and walked out. Ethan and Lila followed, leaving me with Diane and Gerald. Diane's eyes burned with fury, but Gerald just stared, calculating. You think you've won, he said. But Haley will always come back to us. I left without responding, but his words haunted me. When I got home, Haley was packing a bag. I'm staying with Claire for a few days, she said, not meeting my eyes. I need to think. My heart sank, but I nodded. I'll be here, I said. The next morning, Lila called with a bombshell. There's another tape, she said. From last night after we left the restaurant. You need to see it. She sent it over, a clip of Diane and Gerald in their car, unaware the audio was still recording. He's smarter than I thought, Gerald said. But we can still fix this. Haley's vulnerable now. A few weeks and she'll see he's the problem. Diane agreed. We'll invite her to the lake house. Remind her who her real family is. My blood boiled. They weren't backing down, they were doubling down. I forwarded the clip to Ethan, who was furious. I'm done protecting them, he said. Haley needs to know. But I hesitated. Another video might push her further away. I needed a way to show her the truth without breaking her spirit. Then Claire called. Haley's a mess, she said. She knows her parents are lying, but she's scared of losing them. She loves you, Julian, but she needs time. I thanked her, my mind racing. Time was the one thing I didn't have. Diane and Gerald were already working to pull Haley back under their control. I had to act fast, but how? Haley's absence left a hole in our Boulder home, the silence heavier than ever. She'd been at Claire's for 3 days, her texts short and distant, need space. I'm okay. Each word felt like a step further from me, closer to her parents' grip. Diane and Gerald weren't slowing down. The latest footage Lila sent showed them plotting to lure Haley to their lake house to remind her who her real family is. I couldn't let them win, but confronting Haley again risked pushing her away for good. I needed a plan that exposed their lies without breaking her. I sat in my studio, surrounded by prints for my upcoming gallery opening, but my focus was on the USB drive. Lila's latest clip played on a loop. Gerald's cold voice, Haley's vulnerable now. A few weeks and she'll see Julian's the problem. Diane's agreement, the lake house will seal it. They were relentless and I was running out of time. Ethan, now fully on my side, called. I talked to Haley, he said. She's torn. She knows they're lying, but she's scared of cutting them off. What's our next move? We don't push her, I said. We show her who they really are, but it has to be her choice to see it. Ethan suggested inviting Haley to a family meeting at our house, neutral ground, with him and Lila present. We'll play the new footage, he said. But we need more, something that shows this isn't just about you. I agreed. The pattern of control went beyond me, beyond Nathan. I needed to uncover their full history. I reached out to an old colleague, Mia, a private investigator I'd worked with on a corporate shoot. I need dirt on Gerald and Diane Larson, I told her. Anything that shows a pattern of manipulation. Mia was discreet, efficient. 2 days later, she sent a file. You didn't get this from me, she warned. The file was a goldmine, court records, hushed-up lawsuits, and testimonies from former employees and family friends. Gerald had blackmailed a business partner into selling his shares cheap. Diane had spread rumors to ostracize a neighbor who challenged her at the country club. Most damning was a deposition from Haley's high school best friend, Sarah, who'd been cut off after encouraging Haley to study abroad. Sarah claimed Diane fabricated a story about her stealing from their home, turning Haley against her. The evidence was chilling. Diane and Gerald didn't just control Haley, they'd built a life of manipulating anyone who threatened their influence. I shared the file with Ethan and Lila. This is bigger than we thought, Lila said. They've been doing this forever. Ethan's voice was grim. Haley needs to see this, but it'll crush her. I called Claire to check on Haley. She's coming back tomorrow, Claire said. She misses you, Julian, but she's afraid. Her parents keep calling, saying you're tearing the family apart. I thanked her and prepared for Haley's return. I wouldn't ambush her with the evidence, not yet. Instead, I set up our living room with photos from our life together, our wedding, hikes in the Rockies, her laughing at a campfire. A reminder of what we built, separate from her parents' world. The documents from Mia were a bombshell. A paper trail exposing Gerald and Diane's secret account, funneled through a shell company tied to Diane's charity. Every transfer aligned with Haley's major life decisions. Her college, her move to Boulder, her breakup with Nathan. They'd weaponized her trust fund to control her, and now they were tightening the screws to pull her away from me. Haley was slipping, caught between my evidence and her parents' denials. I had to act fast, but one wrong move could push her into their arms for good. I sat in my Boulder studio, the glow of my laptop illuminating the damning files. Ethan, now my ally, leaned over my shoulder. "This could ruin them," he said, his voice low. "But Haley's not ready to see this. It'll break her." He was right. She'd come back from her parents' mansion last night, shaken, repeating their claim that the spiked drink was a medication mix-up. She wanted to believe them, needed to. I couldn't just shove more evidence in her face. Not yet. Instead, I called Lila. "We need a way to show Haley the truth without overwhelming her," I said. Lila paused, then suggested, "What if we get someone neutral to talk to her? Someone she trusts, who can back up what we've found." We brainstormed and landed on Claire, Haley's college friend, who'd already hinted at her parents' past manipulations. I sent Claire the key documents, Sarah's deposition, Nathan's emails, and a summary of the financial records. "Don't push her," I said. "Just help her see." Claire invited Haley for coffee the next day. I waited at home, editing photos for my gallery opening to keep my nerves in check. When Haley returned, her eyes were red but focused. "Claire showed me some things," she said quietly, "about Sarah, Nathan, and the money. Is it true? Have they been controlling me my whole life?" I nodded, pulling up the financial records on my laptop. "These transfers, they made sure you stayed close, Haley. Every time you tried to be your own person, they pulled you back." She stared at the screen, her breath uneven. "Why didn't I see it?" she whispered. I took her hand. "Because they're your parents. You loved them, but you're seeing it now." She didn't pull away, but she didn't respond either. "I need to confront them," she said finally, "but not alone. Will you come with me?" We planned the confrontation carefully. Ethan and Lila would join us and we'd meet at a public place. A private room at a Boulder hotel, not their mansion where they held all the power. I brought my camera not to shoot, but as a prop to remind them I could document everything. The financial records, security footage, and testimonies were loaded onto a tablet, ready to display. Ethan suggested recording the meeting just in case. "They'll lie," he said. "We need proof." The hotel room was stark, its neutrality a stark contrast to the tension filling it. Diane and Gerald arrived, polished as ever. Diane in a tailored blazer, Gerald in a suit that screamed wealth. They smiled, but it didn't reach their eyes. "Haley, darling," Diane began. "We're so glad you're here. Let's clear up this misunderstanding." Gerald nodded. "Julian's blown this out of proportion. We're family, after all." Haley's voice was steady but sharp. "There's no misunderstanding. I've seen the footage. The drink you spiked, Mom. The emails you faked to break up me and Nathan. The money you've been using to control me." Diane's face froze, but Gerald chuckled, dismissive. "Sweetheart, you're upset. Julian's fed you lies, and Ethan's buying into it. Let's talk rationally." I slid the tablet across the table, playing the car footage from after our last meeting. Gerald's voice echoed. "Haley's vulnerable now. A few weeks, and she'll see Julian's the problem." Diane's followed. "The lake house will seal it." Haley's jaw. The Boulder air felt charged as Haley and I prepared for the final confrontation at her parents' mansion. The weight of Mia's documents, proof of Gerald and Diane's secret account and their manipulation of Haley's trust fund, sat heavy in my bag, alongside Lila's footage and Nathan's emails. Ethan and Lila were already there, ready to back us up. Haley's hand trembled in mine, but her eyes were steely. "I want the truth," she said. "No more lies." I nodded, knowing this night would change everything. We arrived at the Larsons' sprawling estate, its manicured lawns a stark contrast to the chaos inside. Diane greeted us with a forced smile, her pearls gleaming under the chandelier. Gerald stood by the fireplace, sipping bourbon, his confidence unshaken. Ethan and Lila sat stiffly on the couch, their faces grim. "Let's keep this civil," Gerald said, gesturing to the seating. "We're family, after all." Haley didn't sit. We're here to talk about what you've done, she said, her voice firm. Diane's smile faltered. Darling, we've been over this. Julian's filled your head with nonsense. I set my bag on the table, pulling out the tablet. Then explain this, I said, playing Lila's latest footage, the car conversation where they planned to isolate Haley at the lake house. Diane's voice echoed, she'll forget Julian. Gerald waved a hand. Edited, obviously. You're desperate, Julian. But Haley wasn't swayed. And this, she asked, holding up Mia's documents. Bank records showing you siphoned my trust fund to control me. Payments when I chose my college, when I moved, when I got engaged to Nathan. Diane's face paled, but Gerald stayed calm. Those are investments in your future, Haley. You're misinterpreting. Ethan stood, his voice cutting through. Stop lying. I've seen the footage, the emails. You did the same to Lila and me, tried to break us up because she didn't fit your mold. Lila nodded, pulling out her phone. Here's more, she said, playing a clip from months ago. Diane telling Gerald if Haley won't leave Julian, we'll cut her off completely. Haley's breath hitched, her eyes welling up. Diane reached for her. Haley, we only wanted what's best. Haley stepped back. You drugged my husband. You lied about Nathan, about Sarah, about everyone who ever cared about me. You don't want what's best, you want control. Gerald's composure cracked. You're our daughter. We know what you need better than some photographer. I stayed silent, letting Haley take the lead. She turned to me, her voice steady despite her tears. Julian, show them the rest. I opened the file from Mia, projecting it onto the TV, bank statements, shell company records, and a timeline tying their financial moves to Haley's life. You used my trust fund to manipulate me, Haley said. Every time I tried to be free, you pulled me back. Diane's eyes darted to Gerald, panicked. He leaned forward, his voice low. You're making a mistake, Haley. Julian's using you to get to our money. I laughed cold and sharp. I don't want your money, Gerald. I want my wife to be free from you. Haley nodded. I'm done letting you control me. Both of you. Ethan spoke up. I'm with Haley. You've heard us enough. Lila added, and I have copies of everything, footage, documents, emails. If you try to interfere again, it goes public. Diane gasped, clutching her pearls. You wouldn't dare. Lila's eyes were fierce. Try us. Gerald's face hardened, but he said nothing. For the first time, he looked cornered. Haley took a deep breath. I love you because you're my parents, but I can't trust you anymore. We're setting boundaries. No more uninvited calls, no more schemes. If you want to be in our lives, you respect us, Julian included. Diane started to protest, but Haley cut her off. This isn't a negotiation. We left the mansion, the air lighter despite the tension. In the car, Haley leaned against me, exhausted but resolute. I meant every word, she said. I'm choosing us. I kissed her forehead. I know. 3 months later, life felt different. Haley and I were stronger, rebuilding trust through therapy and late-night talks. My gallery opening was a success, my photos selling out to collectors and magazines. Ethan and Lila welcomed their son, and we celebrated together, free from the Larsons' shadow. Diane and Gerald kept their distance, sending occasional texts but respecting our boundaries. They hadn't apologized, but their silence was acknowledgement enough. Then, one evening, a package arrived, no sender, just my name scrawled on it. Inside was a deed to our Boulder home, which we'd been renting, and a trust fund for Haley, fully restored with no strings. No note, no conditions. It wasn't an apology, Gerald didn't do those, but it was a surrender. I showed Haley, and she smiled faintly. They're trying in their way, she said. I nodded, but I'd never let my guard down completely. That summer, Haley announced she was pregnant. We named our daughter Willow after the resilient trees that bend but never break. When Diane and Gerald visited the hospital, they brought gifts but stayed brief, respectful under Haley's watchful eye. Gerald shook my hand, his grip firm but without challenge. Congratulations, he said, and left it at that. By winter, I opened a second gallery in Denver, my work featured in National Geographic. At the opening, Haley stood beside me, Willow on her hip, glowing with pride. Diane and Gerald attended, lingering at the edges. Diane held Willow briefly, her eyes soft but guarded. Gerald nodded at my photos, a rare glint of approval in his eyes. They left early, no suggestions, no jabs. As we locked up that night, Haley asked, "Do you think they've changed?"